Afternoon, folks. IndyTruckDavy through the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it's not a bad day, folks. Oh, hold on, turn this bugger off. It's not a bad day. It's quite bright, sunny, and it is 11 degrees. Well, a wee bit of wind here. So that's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like with you, look out your own bloody windy. Maybe leave a wee comment and let me know how the weather is with you. Anyway, what brings Davy to your screens today? Well, as the title says, Peter Murrell has been arrested for embezzlement, and I see S in the comments has said Murrell stole all your money. Well, that has yet to be seen. Now, I've had a look at the legal definition of embezzlement in Scotland, so I will put it up and read it out for you. Okay. That should shunt me off to the side. Embezzlement, Scotland. Embezzlement is where a person has been entrusted or put in charge of property or money or other assets and appropriates if they use it and use it for their own purposes dishonestly. If you are accused of embezzlement, it's important that you contact a lawyer. Very good. I'm sure Peter has by now. So, in order to have been charged with embezzlement according to this definition in Scots law, Peter would have to have misappropriated funds and used them for his personal gain. Now, as we already know, the funds weren't misappropriated. The funds show up as being spent on the day-to-day running of the SNP and on the campaign for the 2019 election. Which the SNP won. So, I've decided to have a wee look at embezzlement and what it was Peter could embezzle, but we'll get to that. I had to assure myself that the SNP had shown this money being spent in their books, hadn't they done anything wrong. So I went to the Electoral Commission, as you folks would expect me to do, and I got an overview of party campaign spending. Now that's on a referenda or whatever, or how they spend their money. And I went looking for ring fencing. In other words, ring fencing of campaign money, and it doesn't exist in electoral law. Right? Types of electoral spending, regulated period, campaign spend is, managing campaign spending, splitting and allocating campaign spending, recording and reporting of spending. Summary. Party campaign spending at electoral. Hold on, I'll put these up. I keep forgetting about these things and when I'm doing these things. Where am I? Oh, for some reason this one's not showing up. The Electoral Commission one doesn't seem to be showing up. It's because a PDF file, so I'll stick it in the comments, folks, so you can read it for yourself. It's rules on campaign spending. Alright, so I'm going to stick it in the comments. Folks on Facebook, you'll be able to click it now, but you won't be able to read it once the stream's finished, so you're not going to the comment, or you're not going to YouTube to get it. I'll put it onto YouTube comments after the broadcast is finished. And I'll put it up on my Facebook page. But anyway, here's the rules, the Electoral Commission rules on campaign spending. Alright, I'm going to run down through them for you. Summary, party campaign spending at elections is regulated under the Political Parties Elections and Referenda Act 20,000, the PPERA. I keep getting that wrong. I keep saying the EFFER for some reason, but there you go, it's the PPERA. Anyway, the overview will give you an understanding of the principles of party campaign spending types of electoral spending, campaign spending, candidate spending, allocated spending between the party and the candidates, meaning the running of the party and getting your candidates elected. Who's responsible for campaign spending? Treasurer. The regulated period depends on what the running is and what the purdah is for the election or a referenda. What is campaign spending? And that details what it's. Campaign materials, giveaways, accommodation, travel, that sort of thing. Downloaded material, party election broadcasts, splitting expenses. What counts as spending and what doesn't? DJ volunteer time doesn't count as spending. Permanent, fixed term or temporary staff, where the staff member has a direct employment contract with the party. So basically your full-time staff, that's no campaign spending. Running your offices, people travel, food, accommodation costs while they're campaigning unless you reimburse them. So basically they pay for their own accommodation, that it doesn't count as spending. And expenses met out of public funds, for example, security costs and VIP visits. That doesn't count as campaign spending either. So notional spending, valuing notional spending, it's just basically rules on how to spend them and how you register the money you've spent. The next one I am going to put up, because this is the one that is interesting because it's in a unionist rag. Alright, it's in the Scotsman. Now, what this article tells us is, and I'll get back to the headline on it, okay, SNP fund scandal sparks call for reforms in ring-fence party political donations. I'm going to run down to the important part of this, right, because you get the waffle and the bias first, but we'll get to the bit that's important, right. And Tom Brake, a former Liberal Democrat MP, lost his seat in 2019 general election. The director of pro-democracy campaign, along with Wilson, said the UK government should give the Electoral Commission new powers to force political parties to publish how they spend their money, raised through single-issue campaigns. Right? Now, he's on to tell us that very stringent rules apply to charities, and that is true. I'll just stick this up. Very stringent rules, they apply to charities. If you've ring-fenced charity funds for a purpose, then they can only be used for that purpose except for extenuating circumstances, such as the charity is about to go bust, or like what happened with the SNP, the project they wanted to spend it on was vetoed by an outside body. Right? So as I say, the important part of this gets down to right one. The important part of this, because it's just a wee bit further down. What they're saying is they want electoral reform so that any single issue campaign that money is raised on through crowdfunders and things like that can only be spent on that. When there isn't a campaign, it would basically make them all bloody bankrupt. It would make them all bloody bankrupt. Why would it make them all bloody bankrupt? Because part of that money is through what the Electoral Commission calls split spending, running your offices, meeting your party day costs. So what the article in the Scotsman is all about is about the idea that they change the rules for political parties when they raise money for a single issue, that it can only be spent. As I say, with the charities, let's say we have raised money for a single issue of building, say, a nursing home, but we don't get planning permission, it's vetoed. If we want to reallocate the funds, we have to go to the Charity Commission and ask them to unring fence it for us. At the same time, we have to make it clear to the people who've donated that money, especially big donors, that it can't be, the project can't come to fruition. And they have the opportunity to ask for the money back. Nobody ever does. It's a charitable donation. You know, now they say the same thing should happen with political parties. So if you've raised money on a single issue through a crowdfunder, like an independence referendum, and that independence referendum was vetoed by an outside body, you would then have to go to the Electoral Commission and ask them to unlock the funds for you. That's what the suggestion in this article is. But the point of bringing this article in the Scotsman up is reform of ring-fenced political party donations, because there is no such thing. So let's get back to Peter being arrested for embezzlement. Now, what embezzlement, as opposed to fraud, seems to indicate in this particular case is that funds have been siphoned off and used for Peter's personal gain. Now, the only thing I can think of here, because everything's in the books are published, everything's in the books. The only thing I can think of here is that the motorhome that they used some of this money to buy as a campaign vehicle, the only thing I can think of is it's registered in Peter's name instead of in the party name. Because Peter was on over 100,000 a year. Nicola was on over 100,000 a year. They didn't live lavish lifestyles. So I can't see how this money could have been embezzled or stolen for personal use. So the only thing I can think of is a problem with some paperwork somewhere. Because we know the money is no missing. It shows up in the books. It shows up as being spent in the day-to-day running of the party, and it shows up as being in the 2019 election. Well, no, so 2021 election was it? One of the two elections, or maybe even both of them. The crowdfunder did start in 2017. So, embezzlement, a decent lawyer and Peter's going to walk away from this one. Because I say, I don't see where Peter and Nicola have had any personal gain. We know the money hasn't actually been stolen or siphoned off anywhere, because it shows up in the party's books. It shows up as being spent. The treasurer tells us it was spent. And the SNP says they'll spend the equivalent amount on a referendum. Now, maximum referendum spend under the Referendum Scotland Act is 1.5 million. So that's the amount of money the SNP can feasibly raise to spend. And they won't have a big problem doing it. So I really don't see. I think this is a case of, like David Milligan has been saying, and the pressure we've all been putting on Police Scotland to shit or get off the pan. I think this is the best they can come up with. Now, I wonder if the PF will draft it before it goes to court, or will the Crown Office take this one on and make themselves look stupid? Because I say they need to prove that Peter had taken money for personal gain. And Peter and Nicola don't have a lavish lifestyle. Thank you, George. Now, the only other thing I could think of was, could embezzlement be applied to raising money under false pretences? I think that's fraud. But, as I say, just the man I'm looking for, Mark. I don't know how you got my address, but thank you very much. It was a very kind gift. Now that you've got my address, please do not give it out. All right? But thanks, it's a very kind gift. I'll get a lot of use out of it. Thank you, Mark. But as I say, folks, if you have my address, keep it to yourself. Because you guys are such generous people, I'd end up swamped in bloody gifts. So if you've got my address, don't give it out, please. And Mark, thanks very much for the gift. Now that you've got my address, please keep it to yourself. So as I say, I don't see how Peter would attain this for personal gain. Could embezzlement be applied to raising money under false pretences? No, that's fraud. And the money wasn't raised under false pretences. It was raised for an independence campaign, which was vetoed by the Supreme Court and denied by Westminster. So See, this one puzzles me, but I think it's the pressure that we've all been put on Police Scotland to shit and get off the pan. If this is the best it can come up with, as I say, a decent lawyer, and this will come to nothing. Come to nothing. But I thought I'd come on and talk about it for a wee bit, because I really do think it's a case that Police Scotland were under so much pressure, and the Crown Office was under so much pressure, and the PF was under so much pressure, that they've had to come up with something. You know? But if Peter was embezzling money, why haven't they arrested the Treasurer? Because the Treasurer should have noticed Peter was embezzling money. So the Treasurer would have been in on it. So I wonder if the Treasurer's getting nicked next. I don't think they'll go anywhere near Nicola, because party finances are getting nothing to do with it. She's a politician. That's going to do with party officials. So, I say, it's convenient. Labour were losing ground here again in Scotland. And all of a sudden, we've got Police Scotland arresting Peter Murrell. Smells of dirty tricks, to be honest with you. Absolutely dirty tricks. As I say, I don't think Peter's getting to worry about. A decent lawyer, and when it comes to costs, he'll just sue the other side for costs. Simple as that. George, using the funds for other purposes could raise eyebrows. That's why they're talking about reform, so that the rules of charities apply to political parties, where if I'm a political party and I raise something on a single issue, say women's rights, and turns out that my definition is illegal, so the money or women's rights is a bad example, but say I've raised money for an independence referendum and it's vetoed by the Supreme Court and vetoed by Westminster, there's no rules saying I can't use that money for other things. None. That's why they're looking at reform to bring it in line. It might raise a few eyebrows that the money's been spent for other things, but I didn't hear anybody asking for their money back. We also accepted that the Supreme Court had made its ruling and that independence referendum wouldn't happen anytime soon. I don't remember all the members or all the donators sending letters in saying, can I have my money back? So, as I say, I don't think Peter's getting to worry about this one, but I have seen a lot of stupid comments. I see S get the bullet moderators up. That wasn't necessary, I don't think. I want unionists on this channel, as long as they're no rude. Putting S right wouldn't have been hard work. You know. And to Ginger Giraffes, to be funny, to be fair, when it comes to the PPE loan scandal, they're going after certain people, but they're not actually trying to go after them all. He's written off 4 billion odds there. Right, as I say, so I've seen a lot of rubbish out there about floating about in social media, like S's idea that Peter Murrell stole £600,000, when we know that £600,000 shows up in the books. It shows where it was spent, when it was spent, what it was spent on. The complaint that was made to Police Scotland was they'd spent money. They'd spent money that wasn't meant for that purpose. You know, the idiots that looked at the book saying, hold on, there was only £100,000 in these accounts. There should be 750,000. They obviously didn't understand the rules. Didn't realise that the independence referendum was off the cards until Westminster gives us permission, or until we decide to use a different means of achieving the goal. So that, see, this, I don't think this will come to much. I think this is mere electioneering, to be honest with you. Where the state is desperate. The state is desperate to stop the SNP to take the majority of MPs here in Scotland. And I mean desperate. The state are hoping if Labour can take control here in Scotland, independence is dead for a generation. But they're obviously not paying attention, because it's not really political parties that's driving independence. As we've seen, the last 3-4 polls have got the majority of Scots wanting out of this union. It's only 54% and 52%, things like that, and all within the margin of error. So we get to call it 50%. But for the SNP, you want a majority of MPs again, that just keeps the pressure on. It also gives them the ability to say, are you going to participate, and let us ask the people. And if they say no, then obviously they're going to look at doing it through a different system, meaning we're in an electoral system. So that's the way it's going to be. Anyway, I just thought I'd pop on and talk about it. I hope you enjoyed the wee broadcast, folks. Viewing figures are no bad. I know it was a bit of a surprise, but I thought I'd try and cut out some of the nonsense we've been seeing in social media since last night. And the nonsense has been talked in the press, hasn't it, really? It's more about advertising the fact that he's been arrested. It's an SNP bad story. Margaret, you're absolutely right. All political parties should be more upfront about how their funds are spent, whether it's day-to-day funds or funds that are raised for specific projects. You know, whether it be political education, whether it be for campaign costs, whatever. They should be more accountable to the party members. But political parties, as I say, they don't want more stringent rules. They want to be able to take the money you're giving them to campaign for day-to-day costs as well as campaign. It costs a lot of money to run a political party. Anyway, that's it for the day. I'll catch you later, folks. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. Catch you later. Bye for now.